What's up, my Madden Rebuild Warriors? My name is David, and today we are talking about the Carolina Panthers. We just finished the entire season with them. They finished 4-13, and they actually had two of their wide receivers go over 100 yards or 100 catches, 100 receptions, and one of them, Terrace, led the league in receptions because of where he lines up in the depth chart. We'll get into that more, but their playbook they were in, very unique. Didn't plan on going with that right away when I first decided to take over the Panthers to rebuild, but seeing the wide receivers they had and how I wanted to build up Bryce Young and the wide receivers, and this season was more about building the players and not so much the record, although I would have liked a better record than 4-13. Let's talk about the team and the history of it going from this past offseason to the season to looking ahead to where we're going for next season. So when we took over this team, they were a 77 on offense, a 79 on defense, 79 overall. We pretty much figured defense, like it was pretty much last year, built to be strengthened towards the defense. So after the offseason, offense was still 77. The defense had gone up to an 83, still 79 overall. And as you can see here now, these probably might be higher, but we do have some players, especially on defense. When you look at defensive numbers in a second, we have our overalls are lower than they should be because of the morale boost, but not a boost because the morale is low. It's dragging down the numbers. I mean, we did bring up the offense. The offense actually, it's weird because the offense kind of was a strength this year, and the defense was one of the worst defenses. But I think that has to do with the playbook, especially offensively they were in. So as you can see, they went 4-13. The playbook they were in offensively isn't here. And you can't change it because it's the run and shoot playbook. And then they were on defense for most of the year. They were the Atlanta Falcons defense playbook, one of my favorite 3-4 playbooks, and tried to change it to Denver to see if that would do anything. It really didn't. It's all about the run and shoot playbook they're in. Very unique offense. Take a look at the run and shoot playbook if you haven't. It's one of those extra playbooks that you can use, but 4 wide receivers are on the field at all times. It's very unique, and that's why I wanted to get it in because they had Mingo, they have Marshall, and then we drafted Jermaine Burton and Jalen McMillan. Now McMillan ended up not coming out in the draft, and I think he transferred out of Washington. I don't know too much about college football. I just kind of pay attention to them when they start getting the draft, but we started our free agency and draft process when the NFL is still in the playoffs, so kind of people haven't declared yet and all that stuff like that. Got to go with what we go with, and we're going to talk about why Marshall got 123 catches, which was number 1 in the league. He was second in yards at 1,565 yards, and he had 8 touchdowns. He basically was, as you'll see, Justin Jefferson. I'm going to talk about this spot on the depth chart and how it just played into the run and shoot playbook. So Marshall was the number 4 wide receiver, and Mingo was the number 3. This pretty much was this the entire year, and I was messing around the depth chart as the season went on at the very beginning to see where players needed to be for it to be productive, and these two were pretty much not there at the very beginning, but quickly found their way to those spots. Because also, when you get to the sub package of slot wide receiver, Mingo's number 1 and Terrace Marshall's number 2, and this spot for Terrace Marshall, he was almost like a tight end position a lot. You can probably even put a tight end here. We're going to do a deeper dive video on the run and shoot playbook and even look at it from a quick sim position, because Really can only use these playbooks when you slow sim. You have to, before the game starts, change the playbook to run and shoot, and then you can slow sim. You can't quick sim with them unless you do like a hybrid of quick sim and slow sim. You gotta do the same thing, change the playbook, and then simulate the entire game and go week to week. But we'll get into that in another spot here. But if you want to force feed your wide receivers, and look, man, we had Bryce Young. Bryce Young was not very good. I think he got his throw power up to 90 by the end of the season. He was in and out of the lineup a little bit. Would have went over like 4,500 yards passing probably had he not got hurt. So that's a very unique playbook and position. And yeah, Terrace Marshall was Justin Jefferson. Pretty much exactly. I mean, they're same school, basically the same size. Pretty cool. Go over the roster, the depth chart. Of course, Bryce Young, trying to build him up. Got him up to an 81. I mean, he has the morale boost. Offense is doing well. He only got to an 89 throw power. I think that's partly what hurt him. You know, Hubbard and Miles Sanders filling in. Picked up Frank Gore as a undrafted. I don't know if I'll ever get in. Thielen, we never played. 85 speed. No, thank you. Of course, Mingo, Marshall. Hardman wanted to come here really bad, probably because he went to Georgia. And then Jermaine Burton, we drafted. And I think the 3rd or 4th round later in the draft. Same with Jalen McMillan, Antoine Wells, South Carolina boy. He came over as a undrafted free agent. Tight ends really never saw the field. Of course, we have Ikem Ikwanu or Ikwanu, Brady Christensen. We drafted this man who starts, Connor Kobe, out of Iowa, Austin Corbett, and Taylor Moton. I mean, the offensive line was kind of half decent and held up for what they were asked to do. Was a lot of pass blocking. Denico Autry really wanted to come here. If we stay with a 3-4, we need to greatly improve this position. Derek Brown re-signed here, big deal. He almost led the league in sacks. He had like 26.5. He was like 3rd in sacks. He was a monster. Our first pick, which was top of the 2nd round, was Devondre Sweat out of Texas, the freak. He is an absolute freak, but he just didn't play that well. And I think partly that is why our defense struggled. Now, we go to a 4-3, which I'm thinking of doing. Him and Brown on the defensive line. I think we're very, very, very good. But as a nose tackle, he kind of sucked. DJ Johnson was starting, but on pass rush downs, it was Barno and Burns out there. And Barno got a lot of play. And Barno actually was like 3rd on our team in sacks. So jumping ahead a little bit, I think this right outside left end position needs to be upgraded unless we go with Barno. But I think we still need another guy to go with Barno, I think. Shaq Thompson's here. Frankie Luvu was re-signed, but the middle linebackers weren't great. J.C. Horn, fine. Just we had no interceptions either, so we're going to need another corner. Our corner 3 is probably going to be this rookie we drafted, Andrew Kuba. Not a great safety, but he is probably one of our highest rated slot guys, and I think I'm going to move him to our 3rd corner. So we need another corner. Jeremy Chin left in free agency. He went to free agency, but we were able to re-sign him, which is cool. No one wanted to sign him. Or he just didn't like the offers he was given. So that was kind of what we did going into the season. Hoping to move on from Hayden Hurst and those guys. Chuba Hubbard's walking. So we'll go over needs in a second. Let's talk about. We got a pretty tough schedule, I think. It started with this win against the Eagles. I was like, holy shit, we're going to have a great season. Like, the Eagles missed this game-winning field goal, and we had this huge upset on week 1. Of course, we weren't going to beat the Chiefs, but it was kind of looking like they might. And then they were hanging tough, man. Beat the Buccaneers, hanging tough against their division. Beat the Buccaneers twice, who are going to the playoffs, which is crazy. Cowboys, it's like tough stretch here. Cowboys, then the Chargers, who have the best playbook in the game. Then we control the Bears, and the Bears have Caleb Williams and a great team. And then we had the Cardinals, who we also control. And then went to the bye, and then I think every team almost, depending on the situation, but most of the times every team coming out of the bye lost. And yeah, that was bad. Beat the Falcons. And then the Giants defense is tough. Broncos made the playoffs. They're tough. Falcons got revenge. Not beating the Bengals and Joe Burrow. And then this game was not even started by Bryce Young. He was out. He left in the Atlanta game. Jacoby Brissett started this game. And in the last game, we went back to Andy Dalton, and we also control the Commanders. We control the Bengals and the Commanders. So they ended up playing like every one of the teams we control, and just they had no shot. Didn't see it coming, man. It was a long season for them. Stats was Bryce Young is 16th in the league at 3,800 yards passing, but if you add up these yards here, he's well over 4,000 yards passing, and he would have been like 4,500, 30 and 21, or 27 and 21, maybe more. Rushing wise, decent, 7 yards a carry. Miles Sanders was 5 yards a carry. It's actually when this playbook would run the ball, which it doesn't run the ball very much, as you can see. They rush for good yards. But this is a throwing playbook, and 4 wide receivers on the field all the time. Mingo and Marshall are always on the field. Hardman started for most of the season, the one spot, but Burton and McMillan were in and out of the lineup, and Jermaine Burton just really sucked. He's just not good. And whenever McMillan was in the lineup, he performed much better. And maybe things had been a little bit more different had McMillan started most of the season over Jermaine Burton. But McCole Hardman had big games and then disappeared. So I think we're going to move on from McCole Hardman and possibly use Burton, McMillan in the slot, and Mingo and Marshall, who I think are hopefully going to go up in Dev, will be starting. We got two of these guys went over 100 yards, 100 catches, and one of them led the league in catches because of their positions on the depth chart. Defensively, I'm going to talk about something here. 27 sacks for Derek Brown, 15 for Brian Burns. We led the league, or tied the league for sacks at 73. And we are one of the worst teams. We are third worst overall defense, most rushing yards allowed, and gave up the second most points, and we have like the second least interceptions. So we really struggled mightily on defense. Offense, we had the 8th overall passing offense and 5th worst rushing offense. You see our yards, 30th. Points scored, we were 20th. Points allowed, we were 31st. Offensive yards, we were 17th. And defensive yards, we were 30th. So that's how the season went. Let's talk about the future, because tired of looking at the past. We knew we weren't going to make this playoffs with this team, but that's okay. But we have questions going into the future, and hopefully, if you would be so kind to give me your thoughts and tell me what you think. Number one is, what do we do with Bryce Young? We have the 3rd overall pick, and do we move on from Bryce Young after 2 seasons? Or we don't have the number 1 pick. We have the number 3 overall pick. Do we go with a quarterback? Or do we go with? We got a power rusher here. We got a speed rusher. We got 2 of them. We could really go with another wide receiver, but I don't think I'm going to do that. There's also another thing for the league overall, where we might move around the 1st and 2nd overall or 2nd round picks, so teams look a little bit more like they should going to the 2nd season, because we did our draft and free agency way before the NFL's real draft and free agency, and some people have complained that the rosters aren't the same. So we might put, I think it's Xavier Legette on this team, and then they have Marshall and Mingo. I mean, that's crazy. So I don't know if we're gonna do that, but we might. And if we don't, we got Pierman here, but I really don't think that's a good idea. So, or do we trade back? Do we trade back and pick up pieces to a team that needs a quarterback, and we go out and get something we need, like a free safety, or another end, get a couple more picks? We'll have to see. So tell me, are we moving on from Bryce Young? Are we keeping Bryce Young? And if we do keep Bryce Young, are we trading back? What are we going after? I'd love to hear your comments. I also think we switch, as I mentioned before, we switch to a 4-3 defense. The 4-3 defenses seem to do a little bit better in the slow sim, and offensively, I think they're going to get the Chargers playbook. They need the most help. They're going to get the best playbook. I'm trying to keep the playbooks to 1 playbook per conference. So the Chargers are rocking the Chargers, and the team in the NFC that gets to rock the Chargers, in my opinion, is Carolina Panthers, because they need the most help. Needs a free safety, a 2nd corner, a DN, or we stick with Amari Barno. We're going to need a running back, I think. Try to move on from Miles Sanders. Going to need a tight end, I think, and possibly a guard or 2 to fill on the offensive line. So we got a lot of needs. Cut some money here, and that's the past, present, and future of the Carolina Panthers. Tell me what you think. Answer all those questions. Any ideas you have for them, I'd love to hear it. And we will see you next time. We got the playoffs about to start. We got more breakdowns of how teams went into the full sim. And if you're not aware, I've mentioned this many times, we control 8 teams, 1 per division, in a 8-team rebuild, but we simulate every game. Every game was simulated, slow simmed this season, and recorded and uploaded. I don't think there's anything like this in Madden rebuild history. And I hope you like, subscribe, and join us as from doing this, I got so many ideas, and I can't wait for Madden 25 to come out, because I'm going to hit the ground rolling with helping you guys with your rebuilds, your quick sim, slow sim, and all your simulations in between, no matter what you do, like a hybrid sim, getting your players improved and winning your championship. So can't wait to get this channel going even further into the rebuild niche, as they say. All right, guys, I'll see you next time with our next video.